All right, everyone. I was just posting the links to all the places we normally post the links. Hello, and how you doing on this wonderful Labor Day? It's Dgenz Crypto Daily, episode 11 on this Labor Day. I know it's Labor Day, but fuck it, it's crypto. There's no work stoppage on Labor Day for me. Hopefully you're enjoying your time off. You're not working. You're out there by a pool, probably, or a nice patio, or somewhere more relaxing. If you're near a beach, awesome. Read a book, listen to the stream, or watch the stream, like most of the people are. And let's see what happens to crypto today, because surprising to me, we're looking great. Before we get into that, let me quickly remind you that if you haven't had a chance to follow me on Twitter, my page is there. Give a quick follow. It will help us give you all the content on crypto as we move forward in time. As well, don't forget to follow our NFT project, Dgenz. And if you are interested in diving into more of the NFT world, come join us into our Discord. We're a tight, close community that tries to navigate through the crypto space. All right, let's get into what the hell is happening with Bitcoin. Because we kind of expected, like we talked about yesterday, a dump because it was really closing the monthly and the weekly candles very, very bearish. Monthly, not so much as weekly. The weekly was really bearish because, if we look at the weekly, right, we had this really long candle pretty much engulf the previous week's candle. Obviously, we don't want that, right? So this comeback might be just short-lived, right? It's nice to have this bounce back in Bitcoin, but I think it might be short-lived. So it might just come up to here and then straight back down. So the level we're looking at for a bearish bounce is right here, right at that top of that EMA. So 60.91, about 61,000. So let's see if that extends to that level and then goes south. Normally at the beginning of the month, there's usual positivity or negativity, like strong negativity or positivity, just to find the bottom or our top, and then it goes from there. So maybe this is what we're doing here. It's really nice to see most of the alts are moving up. Scrolling through my watch list, it's a lot of stuff that's up 7-8%. Most of them are 5%. Surprising to me, Velo is an amazing. But for those who have been following me and other people on Twitter, know very well how we feel about Velo. I think it's going to be a performing asset in the bull run, and this speaks to the level of strength in this project, because while everything was down, it was trying to hold its ground at this level right here, right? We talked about it. This section being very important. Stay in there, you're going to be good. And when bullish momentum comes back, we'll have this pop out of here and then most likely stop at the local resistance, which right now it's at 3%. Sorry, at 3 cents. And we'll see what happens at that top. Oh my gosh, excuse me. I was dying here. And let's see what happens at that level, because it's most likely going to find some resistance, like we talked about. But, if we look at this trajectory, we can easily see there's a path forward right there. And, it shows that any asset that is trying to get some traction is going to be far behind than Velo. So we really want to focus on Velo for a lot of our exercises, because we can kind of determine if Velo is going to front run some of the assets we're looking at, like, for example, you see the difference, right? So Velo is really up here, what Pyre is down here, right? I mean, it's really, really important to understand if you have a front running asset like Velo, you can actually create yourself an amazing situation with a possible multiple. You can sell Velo at I don't know 15x, and then you can move into, for example, a Pyre and get another 5x on top of that, which will make it a 60x. So there's options out there, right? Jupiter had a decent support. Let me just double check on Jupiter. Yeah, so we talked about this level right here being a good area of support, and so I think that's going to stay true. It is in between some of the fibs. So these two fibs, this one and this one, were kind of good measures for resistance and support, and it looks like it's kind of bypassed that. So let's see if it does get rejected right about here at 80 something cents, 84 cents, and then maybe it can get lower, right? If we do have bearish momentum in September. So we're not out of the woods yet for a lot of these assets, right? Because they're all overall bearish, right? Until we get to these like low levels like we talk about, right? Like this level, and then maybe the all-time low, right? And if you see there, the price action keeps rejecting at those EMAs, right? Which means that people are ready to sell as soon as they get to that resistance. Let's look at some other stuff. So we looked at Velo. It's looking really, really good. It's up 12% while everything else is up only 5%. Let's look at layer ones. ETH up 3.8%. That's really, really good. It means nothing until we actually start breaking through these resistances, right? So it's nice that we had this pushback, but unless it pops over these two lines, it comes back and confirms them. It really means nothing. It just means a comeback wave. Like you saw what happened with right here. We had a small comeback wave and then straight down. So we need to clear these resistances before we can be comfortable saying this is a good run. So we can still have this fractal come down to here, like that. So the bottom will be kind of matching with this 200 EMA, right? So maybe it takes some time to get there. Maybe we get it in October. So October, say first, we're at 2,200, which will match up with this level of indifference, right? Because we had, pump and a dump, and then a pump. That's an indifference that will most likely prove to be correct in here. So that's ETH. Solana. Okay, so let's see if this wedge has to be redrawn. Maybe we could technically say there's a lot of bouncing at this level. Like if you move it around like this, touch up some of them like that. Like I told you guys before, I really don't like to use wicks. Sometimes they're inaccurate or inefficiencies. I like to use the bodies of the candles themselves like this. But if I do that, that means we're fucked, right? Because in this scenario, that means we're at a resistance. You fell through this wedge, which means the next move is actually down to 84. If you guys are comfortable with that, then load up, because these opportunities don't come by often, right? Remember when we had that $8 opportunity and then the $20 opportunity, which took honestly forever, right? Like if you guys look, it was here for like, it feels like 8 months, this level right here, and then expanded, right? Again, the longer it takes, the higher we'll go. So we had 8 months to figure out whether or not this level was good to buy into, right? And so if we do end up going back to 82, we're probably going to get like most of the last quarter being very bearish. So that's why I don't think that does happen, because the momentum is going to be on crypto side, I think, in October, November. So it's really hard to say that we're going to be bearish throughout that time, especially with a very fast trading asset like Solana. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to move this over. We're going to say, hey, you know what? This is actually supporting right now. Okay. And that we are still within this channel. And I think we're going to get maybe bouncing in here. Okay. Because it doesn't fit the narrative that we have in front of us, which is the election cycle is going to be bullish for crypto. November and October. We just talked about this yesterday. I'll bring it up again. This chart right here is super bullish, right? For October. If you look at all of October in 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, all of those years, we had bullish October. November sometimes can be bearish. We saw that in 22 and 21. But overall, it's fairly bullish as well, right? Overall, the average is 46%, medians 8%. But October is fascinating to see. 22% average and median's 22, so it's awesome. Okay. So that's why when I think about Solana in general, I think, we are going to have most likely this up and down thing within this wedge, and then break through in 2025, right? The beginning of 2025, because so many factors play into it. And it's kind of like one of the things I want to remind everyone as well, because I'll show you right here. Okay, so key things to watch out for. We have the presidential debate on September 10th. We have the CPI data on the 11th. PPI, which is the producer price index, which kind of talks about, what are the costs associated with each production? Is that going up or going down? It actually is a leading indicator to CPI. So you would say if the producer is making goods for much less money, that means the CPI is actually going to go down as well. Then you have the FOMC meeting happening on the 18th of September. And then, of course, I think I'm going to make a claim here on the stream right now. I think the September 29th release of CZ is going to be the mega bullish event that we all need. Okay, so mark this down, September 29th. CZ being released from prison is the bullish event that we are all going to get, because it ties into October, right? So September 29th, there's one more day after that, and then we're into October, which just makes sense. And I'm looking forward to that day. Should we have a watch party? That would be fun. So keep an eye on those dates. It's going to be interesting to see how things come out. I truly believe that September 18th is going to let us know which way we go. Most likely it's going to be at least a 0.25 cut. They're not holding anymore. They have to cut because the employment numbers are coming in very, very weak. And so they have to kind of stimulate the market with lower interest rates so that the companies will borrow at a lower cost so they can hire more people and kind of encourage capitalism again. Because right now it's lagging behind. In Canada, at least, we are seeing these numbers way ahead of the US. where our unemployment is much, much higher, and they're cutting aggressively now to spur spending on business, of course. And I think everything's lagging in terms of the US. And so this is going to happen most likely. September, they're going to announce a 0.5 cut, and then see what happens in October. And of course, the more they cut, the more there's going to be people inclined to borrow at a lower cost to buy assets that will appreciate over time. So, for example, if you're an investor and all of a sudden you can borrow at a much, much lower rate, and your return on your investment is going to be much higher in that time as well than the interest rate. And that's the metric, the margins that people are looking at to make money on, the difference between the two. So I think that's going to spur investments, and this is where we're going to get the bullish activity in traditional markets as well as crypto. If we look at the indicator DXY, for example, so that's the indicator we're watching for traditional markets, right? That's a dollar strength index, essentially saying, are people moving assets into just the dollar itself, like the fiat currency, or are they using the fiat currency to buy assets? So it's kind of like the relationship between crypto and stable coins, same kind of thing with the dollar, the fiat dollar, and treasuries and equities and investments and things like that. So we want this chart to actually fall. Right, we talked about it. A lot of confluence down at 95. It was finishing this head and shoulders, right? I think we're here. So if there is a bounce, we hope to be short-lived, so that it can crack this neckline and then move over to the 365 EMA, which is down here. That red line is 365, and then we have the 3-year EMA, which is the white line. Again, a lot of confluence down here, right? Everything's pointing to that 95. So with the cutting of the rates, we can expect this to fall down, right? So remember, you cut the rates, it means that anyone who's actually holding US dollars and they're getting interest on it, that means now they're getting less of it. Okay, so if you're an investor and you're holding on to some US currency and the rates are going down, that means the bank is paying you much, much less to hold your currency, which means you're better off to actually invest that into something else. And that's why this indicator would definitely fall if they cut the rates, right? If you see 2022, when they were increasing the rates, you can see the dollar strength index fly over a short period of time too, about 6 months, went from 95 to 114, 120 maybe. So that's what we expect moving forward. In 2025, when they have the rates low, it's going to get down to here, and then kind of like even out for a period of time until they start to raise the rates again. So most likely in 2027 again, depending on the current state of the economy, because you don't want to spur high rate cuts unless you really need to because of hyperinflation, right? Oil prices. We talk about how oil prices actually dominate all of economies. There's so many byproducts of oil, and a lot of nations are dependent on oil prices being strong. And so, unfortunately, I think for the rest of the world that is not dependent on oil prices being strong, they need oil prices to go down. So we really need the oil prices to come down to lower inflation, primarily. Energy prices contribute to like 90% of inflation. Natural gas, oil, so on and so forth. So we really need to have oil prices come down to this level about here, which is like about 45 per gallon. 45 per barrel. And I don't know if we're going to get to this level specifically, but in that region. So anything between here and here is good. And of course, things won't jump right away when they get there, right? We're most likely going to take some time to kind of even out. That's why we think about 2027 is going to be another eventful year. Like we're going to be over here, and then we're going to start to creep up again for oil. Once we have oil creep up again, interest rates going to follow. And so we got to be aware. If you are trading and you got some high positions, high profit positions, it's a good time to start scaling out when they start to move up, because we will have a downturn in the markets. Okay. So that's kind of that. Bitcoin dominance. It's still treading water, right? It's still hovering. I wonder if it will have any impact on alts very soon, because it's kind of like showing that it wants to dump. Again, remember we talked about this. If we want an alt season, we need this chart to dump. We need it all the way down. And so let's see if it happens in October. Maybe not so much in September. Maybe we get a small pump in September, because if there's a downturn in the markets, Bitcoin usually holds ground compared to alts. So this might actually pump to this level and then flatten and go down. So yeah, every day is interesting in crypto. Sometimes things that look bearish can turn bullish on a dime. We were looking at this chart yesterday. We said, there's a possibility of it pumping to this neckline level here, and we're seeing some rejection. Obviously, that's bullish for the markets, but how much of a rejection we're going to get, I'm not sure. Again, we were looking at this inverted head and shoulders pattern. Okay, most likely we're going to get some sideways action probably in September, maybe a push to that level. But normally October and November will be bullish for us, so we kind of expect October to be down here, maybe even down here, which would be amazing. But we'll track this as we move forward, because it's an important chart. It guides us towards our goal, which is, making sure that this chart dumps down here, down to 2% for the end of the bull run. If you are just logging in now, give me a follow and tweet me suggestions on which charts I should look at. I always look at all kinds of tokens and coins. I don't have biases. I only have biases to the ones that I've done my research on, and I feel like they are fundamentally strong and trade in a very strong momentum. So, and there are very few that are there. So yeah, give me a comment on what coins you want me to look at, and I'll take a look. Most of them are going through the same motions, that you see in most of the altcoins. Like you can even look at Bosun that we looked at yesterday, right? So we're already in buy area, number 1 and 2. It's forming a doji on the weekly, which is exactly what we want for a reversal, right? Jasmine, for example, we had this key trend line break, which obviously resulted in a bearish move. Now, remember, we always talk about this indifference on the left-hand side of the chart. And so we had, a whole bunch of candles pretty much point up and down in that range. So this area right here will be most likely challenged multiple times. This is why we see a bounce right now at this level. The issue I see with Jasmine is there's this pinch that I don't like, this bearish pinch. All right. It doesn't mean it's death. We can still reclaim it. We can got to go up above it and reclaim it. But normally when you see this kind of pinch, especially a rejection at the pinch, means that people want it more further than that, which is suggesting it was probably going to top at 0.007 if we do have bearish momentum. Maybe at this level here, which is at 1.5 cents. But if you're trading Jasmine, those are the levels I'll be looking at. If it jumps over or if it tops or settles down around 1.5 cents. I don't really think it's going to get down here, but you never know. Opulus is still trying to find its bottom. Unfortunately, it's not there yet, but it may come as soon as tomorrow, right? You just don't know when things will turn around. So this might turn for you tomorrow, turn into a nice doji on the weekly, and then we have a reversal action happening. And fairly quickly too, because we had such a long drawdown that we can accelerate just like we did here. And then over here as well. And I think we're almost finished. Normally, I like to run about 30 minutes per stream. I think that's sufficient for a lot of people. Attention spans can sometimes be very short, so we gotta keep it fresh for everyone every single day. Again, thank you again for jamming with me every single time. I do really appreciate it. Crypto markets are always moving, and it's important to stay on top of them. This is why we do this daily stream. Keep you guys up to date. And that's it. Episode 11 is finished, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.